Looking up at the ceiling, laying in my bed, wondering if there'll be a bullet in my head. I wanna be outside, but don't wanna be dead. Hoping life would give me a break, but all it's gonna do is take my breath away. One breath, one death, moving at the pace of a dried out sluggo. Life in these walls keeps my mind moving through the skies. Behind this mask, I thought I would see the life in your eyes, but all I see is someone who is trapped inside, stuck inside their own damn mind. Inside these walls, we sit and wait and do as we're told, watching the flames burn down and the embers turn cold.
If you were to sit still for a moment and to close your eyes, you might notice that the world feels like it's moving just as fast as it once was. Your anxieties could run rampant, and your desires could come rushing through your head. But the world is slow. Your feet lay on the floor, your ass in your chair. But why?
So, over the weekend, Governor Phil Scott announced all schools starting Wednesday would be closed until April. I went into school on Monday like normal, except it was a ghost town. There were only 3 people in my physics class. We were supposed to be getting ready for online classes, but last night, tomorrow's classes were called off. We were supposed to have more time.
How does time work? Why am I here? When the world stops, you lose yourself. Maybe you find yourself. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Have you ever stopped in the middle of the room with a feeling you were looking for something, but you couldn't remember what it was? That was how this year felt to me. Some days, I'd wake up with no purpose.
I don't feel right. Not wrong, but not right. Quarantine has done quite a number on my psyche, I think, but well, I don't know for sure. It seems now more than ever I've had the most time to communicate, but yet I feel adrift. It's not what I'm used to, and it stings like a bee. The energy is spacious, and it feels way too different. I'm out of it, sick of it. Matter of fact, I'm unsure. I know of that much. So much has been different lately, it's scary.
The worst part of all of this for me hasn't been the online school or the excess time. For me, the worst part has been the fear. The fear of catching the virus. The fear that I'll never see my friends again in person until I'm off at college. And worse, the ever-growing fear that now, for the first time in our lives, nothing is concrete anymore.
My family cares, but how am I supposed to tell them I'm barely treading water? How are you supposed to tell the concrete people in your life that you're failing online school? You can't. I couldn't. Pressure dissipated and turned into loneliness. I could be in a house full of my family and still feel alone, and my survival in lockdown felt trivial. Months without my closest friends. My family's near, but I feel like I'm alone on a desert island. I'm on a very lonely island, and the only way out was through the water.
Can you believe we can't even go outside to talk to a neighbor? It was supposed to only be 2 weeks. Can you remember that? Lately, I've only been looking at my wall and my phone. My life has been taken away in a matter of a week. What is patience? Going to work, home, and school every day, over and over again, was like flipping through a calendar through the same month. But now that I'm stuck in my house, it's like flipping through the same day, every day. I don't think I've gotten more sleep in a week.
Dreams are supposed to be this time away in the mystical land of your brain, safe away from what reality holds. But what happens when the paranoia takes over? And suddenly, your safe space becomes the worst place to be. The ones closest to you turning against you. their faces and personalities shifting into these terrible, selfish, blaming monsters. And with this abundance of time, they keep getting louder, and you just can't silence them.
I felt I had an abundance of time. It was originally really jarring, going from most of the day being filled with things to do to suddenly all of that being gone. I started getting really distracted or just mind-numbingly bored, and I started filling this time with really unproductive activities. I stopped making music because the loneliness and the boredom just loomed over me, sapping my motivation, and sleep came to me late, if at all, as I just spent large chunks of the night laying in my bed, my mind filled with existential dread as I tried to wrap my mind around my mortality and the small chunk of my life that was just sort of turning to dust as I do nothing. And the longer I was in quarantine, the worse my perception of time got as days, weeks, and months just sort of melded into each other, making massive blobs of nothingness.
I used to love having time to relax, to just sit and meditate, you know? At the beginning of all this crap, time was all I had. I had entire months that were just full of nothing. And that nothingness would fill all the space in my head. It sat in my bones and joints. And it hurt. Ironically, nothing hurts. Who knew having all that time could hurt so much?
May 2020. My dad has been delivering more packages than Christmas, and my mom had to apply for unemployment. And my work has been the busiest I've ever seen it, and incredibly more stressful. Try telling scared people they can't buy more than 2 cleaning products. I don't know why they get angry at us or try and blame us. There's not enough for everyone. There's literally nothing we can do.
Literally nothing, but simply to survive. Yet somehow, the time passing is burning out our very souls. How can we all retain that which we have learned?
There's a forest fire in my head, burning down buildings made out of memories and bridges to a safe place, destroying any hope of a vaccine, escape, hope. I feel the pain on my back. I feel like I want to run away, but it's the first warmth that I felt in months. But I still run and run. And the pounding pain on my back, the pounding of my heart in my chest, the pounding of my feet on the ground. And all I really want is for this pounding to stop.
All you can hear is the pounding of their voices in your ears, telling you each flaw that you've tried to ignore for so many years. Everything that you've convinced yourself is true. The pounding becomes overwhelming, screaming at you. Fat, ugly, not funny, fake, stupid, not good enough. But one day, you realize none of it matters. All the flaws you've been taught to pick out and hate. All the pain.
The pain made simple tasks difficult. It felt like I had to move a mountain before I could get up and do anything. It was terrible. I wanted a way out. Something, anything to make the pain go away. However, being anything but sad and lonely felt inappropriate. What right do I have to be joyful and happy through such dark, unsure times?
I felt I was in a downward spiral for a while, just looping the same day of lacking the motivation to do anything and then feeling sorry for myself. But the funny thing about time is, even if you feel like it's repeating itself, it never stops marching forward.
My life is like a skipping record. The last month has felt like a year has gone by. I haven't spoken to my family in a few days either. Everything just seems to become boring and monotonous. Take a nap, look at the cases on Google, close the tab, look what's in the fridge, close the door and go back to my room. All the same, yet all so troublesome.
Inconvenient. I try to find the right words to express my thoughts, but all the letters fall out of my mouth like a fresh Scrabble board. Messy, incoherent thoughts and sentences you speak out loud enough to end up hurting more than loving. Eventually, you disconnect. You feel like a monster. You feel as though you'll never change. You miss the connections. You feel extremely guilty. Do you deserve it?
I started to write, listlessly. Nothing was working. I needed a break from the monotony, the numbness. So I turned on a movie to just have something to do. 2 marathoners, trying to break the 2-hour mark. Trains in the early morning with nothing but the cool air on their faces and the beating of their own hearts. One said, if you don't rule your mind, it will rule you. I wanted to be in control again.
I was losing control. I thought I was drowning. You'll make it through if you just try a little harder. Your essay will be better if you just put in a little more effort. You can make online school work for you if you just make a schedule. No one talks about what happens when you have nothing left to give. When you can't try a little harder, when you can't write one more word, when you can't learn virtually. How am I supposed to be happy when I'm giving every bit of myself to an unsustainable life? How am I supposed to swim when I'm afraid of the water?
August 2020. We were supposed to be going back soon. We were supposed to be going back to see our friends, but our senior year is isolated. Anything that brought joy at the beginning of quarantine is gone. I can't bring myself to bake bread anymore, try a new hobby. The only way that I can be sure that the world still exists, that I still exist, is social media, but even then I still don't know what's going on with my friends. I want to reach out to see how they're doing, but I just can't bring myself to do it. Does that make me a bad friend?
You may feel lost, Ebb, but that only means that you will feel found, Flow. In lost, there is meaning. Before you can remember the world the way it was, before everything became different, before you can again hear the chords playing in your head, before the water begins to flow, you will be lost. We are people, and people do. People love, people trust, people create. And not only do people find themselves lost, they just plain find themselves.
I suffered because I felt like I had to. Until one day, I woke up and realized how ridiculous that is. I have every right to find some way to deal with all of this. All of us do. All of us have to. I can't live my life without laughter and levity. I'm not that person, and I'm not going to let some pandemic turn me into that person. So I started to laugh more. I didn't realize how much I missed laughter until I started actively trying to do it more. It was just such a huge relief to just laugh at some YouTube video. And that relief made the pain and the nothingness melt away. Laughter became my medicine. It may not cure everything, but it did make it all more bearable. It made this pandemic less dark and unsure.
I didn't think I'd find my way to the surface. I didn't think I'd see the light at the end of the tunnel or find my new normal, but life has chosen to prove me wrong. I couldn't have imagined finding joy or creativity during such a worrisome time, but I think I realized that true creativity doesn't come from our environment. It comes from within us and what inspires us to wake up every day. Even though the anxiety can feel never-ending and overwhelming, there's always a creative outlet to pull yourself out of the water. Writing has always been my outlet, but I never realized how important it was until I truly needed it.
I started to create again. I always found joy and solace in the world of music, be it making it or listening to it. So feeling that spark of inspiration to make art again was vitalizing. I didn't always make a song when I sat down to create music, but sometimes just making a groove was nice.
Well, there has been some positives, like going back to my old hobbies. Who knew diamond painting could be so distracting from the hell that we're currently living in? These diamonds have become a new part of my life, and they're very pretty if you think about it. After I get done each painting, I pour the rest of the gems I have into this jar. When I look at these gems, I see the world much more clearly than I was ever able to before. I'm better at forming opinions, and knowing about the privilege I have is such a breath of fresh air compared to how I felt about myself before.
So I tried to start communicating with the best way I know how. I illustrate them. Show my loved ones just how much they mean to me and show them what I'm feeling. Words are hard, especially now. But I'm for certain of one thing, and that's being creative. Creative with my language, creative with paper and pen. Gifts may not always be the answer, but painting back the bridges you burned may just be the right way to start fixing, improving.
You start to find yourself, who you really are. Empathetic, caring, inspiring, enough. And slowly, you start to appreciate the things that you used to take for granted in life. The breeze, how the sun feels on your face, your favorite song, getting a text. You start to fall in love with life again. And eventually, you're no longer afraid of the future, but excited for what might come.
I found something that I could actually hold on to. Football for me was more than just a sport or a fun thing to do. It was an escape. It wasn't until I was out on that field where I no longer felt that fear. I could only focus on the game.
Have you ever had that feeling of absolute contentment? Like, in the moment, everything is right in the world? That's what it feels like to run in the woods. You're not running to anything. You're not running from anything. You're just running because you can. It's cathartic. There's nothing but the pounding of your own heart and your lungs straining for air. But in the moment, all that matters is that you're finally in control. You finally have a purpose. None of us asked for this year, but it has taught me to appreciate the little moments in life. The way the sunlight hits an icicle, making it sparkle. The connection made through a room of people, through laughter. And finally, the beating of your own heart as you run, propelling you onwards.
December 31st, 2020. The year is ending, and logically, I know that this won't change anything, that tomorrow is just another day to the universe. But it feels like a fresh start, that we can take all the pain, all the mistakes that we made, and bring it into the new year as the lessons we learned. It's the last semester of our senior year, and I hope to be able to say goodbye to all my friends. I think that next year can be something beautiful.
Now, that's not to say it'll be easy. And to be honest, it probably wasn't even easy before the world flipped upside down.
Even if we're stuck in a world of controversy and isolation, we can look forward to the new year and hope for the better, and look into ourselves and find some good in the situation we're still stuck in.
Regardless, as you sit there, wondering what to do with your existence, at some point your stomach is going to growl, and it is then you will be reminded of what you have always known.
You are alive, and life requires. You will take what you learned in your youth and use it well.
And it hasn't all been bad. It's given me more time to focus on doing what I love.
Eventually, with enough time, you'll find your place within the madness.
And so it goes. The ebb lives inside the flow, just as the opposite is true.
Yes, time may feel like nothing. This may feel like nothing. You might even feel like nothing.
But I can promise you, nothing is not as scary of a place as you might think. Everything comes from nothing.
Yet somehow, from nothing, I can almost hear the chords that have rang out in our universe since we started ringing them. And I am full of joy.
Yes, I know we will have fun one day when we're all in the sun. It may start as a struggle, but when we put our minds to it, oh, I know that we will do it. Sometimes you have to get through it and just hold on. We are the ones who fought together. We are the ones who lost the brave. We are victorious. free. We will feel glorious when we hold our hands, and we hold our heads high in the sky. We are one to forget, we are one to most forever. We are